Welcome to the 5-Pack, where we talk about the 5 things that matter, 5 things that will matter, and a daily pack rip. Here is your host, Kyle Elfrink.
Welcome in on a Tuesday afternoon for some of you, morning still for many of you. This is the 5-Pack right here on the Better Sports Network. Kyle Elfrink alongside our producer, Heather Klein. Hope everybody is doing well today, and hopefully everybody out there is wearing 2 socks, preferably matching socks. Now, if you're in flip-flops down south, or maybe you're one of those weirdos who wears Birkenstocks still, I'll let you slide without wearing the socks. But I tell you, for everybody else, we want 2 socks on because today is National Lost Sock Memorial Day. So preferably both your socks match tonight. But if they do not, understand that today is a day to kind of sit back and remember the lost sock, which I think most of us lose a sock. Like literally every time you do the laundry, there's always that orphan sock somewhere out there. Today, we honor those socks on May the 9th. Hope everyone is doing well. Fun Monday, and we're going to have a fun Tuesday. Over the next hour, we'll give you 5 things that do matter as we get rolling on this Tuesday. We'll give you 5 things that will matter. And of course, we have the ever popular Pack Rip, and today is a rip. 1988 Score Baseball, year number 1 of Score Baseball. A very colorful set, I think it's safe to say. There's reds, there's purples, there's greens, there's yellows, there's oranges. Like Score said, all you other baseball cards that are going to have your consistent look, every card looks the same. We're not going to do that. And I don't know how Score decided. I'm sure there is some strategy to, in this 1988 card set, how they decided which colors go with which players or which teams. I don't know the strategy. Maybe I'll look it up here during a break. But they were unique and they were different. And we'll see what the color breakdown is. The rainbow of Score baseball cards coming your way near the tail end of the show. But we begin today's festivities with the 5 things that matter. As I say quite often, I am here every day on the 5-Pack to take care of those of you who don't get to sit around and watch sports. You love sports, but you also have to show love maybe for your job, for your family, for your friends, for cleaning the house, whatever it is. You don't get to sit on your rump every single night or every single day and enjoy all the sports world graces us with. So I'm here to tell you what you might have missed. I'm here to tell you what you need to care about, what you should care about. And a lot of times we kind of preview the day before and then we talk about it the next day. So we'll do some of that. And we got 5 things coming up here. We have 5 things coming up later. I am buying time right now. If you did not notice, we're uploading some videos. So we'll get to the 5 things that do matter. Want to start with our NHL draft. And we talked about this a bit yesterday. We had all the ping pong balls. We had all the losing hockey teams. We had Gary Bettman, rather to go through a very, I recommended this yesterday, but now I should have never recommended it. It's hugely confusing as to how the NHL decides who gets the number 1 pick. It's not as simple, seriously, as just a ping pong ball popping out. It's not that simple. But yesterday, there were a lot of eyes. There was a ton of attention on who would get the number 1 pick in this year's NHL draft. Everybody wanted to get their hands on Connor Bedard, who isn't even a legal adult yet. The dude is 17 years old, but everybody says, and there's no doubt, he's the number 1 pick. The question is, where would he start his NHL career? Last night, we got our answer.
Selection in the 2023 NHL draft belongs to the Chicago.
know if I've ever seen so much celebration for a guy who literally has done nothing for your franchise or for your team. Obviously, that is a Blackhawks watch party. That might even be most of the front office there in Chicago. They have not had a lot to cheer about in Chicago with the Blackhawks, and they just, in effect, ended an era with the Blackhawks. You go back 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, Blackhawks were the toast of the NHL. They had Patrick Kane, they had Jonathan Toews. Those two guys were selected in back-to-back drafts. Well, interestingly enough, this year they trade Patrick Kane to the Rangers. Jonathan Toews is pretty well going to be without a contract. It's a new start with the Blackhawks. And what do you know? They win the lottery and they get Connor Bedard. And I'll say this. I was thinking about this morning. When you look at the city of Chicago, who no doubt has had legends. I mean, you go back to Gale Sayers and Dick Butkus and Michael Jordan and Sammy Sosa even and Frank Thomas. I mean, legend after legend after legend. Even with the Blackhawks, some greats. Jeremy Roenick, Kane, Toews, all these guys. Right now in Chicago, there's a bit of a vacuum for that next guy who becomes the toast of town. Now, Justin Fields has a chance to do it. He has an opportunity to do it with the Chicago Bears. But I don't see much else on the Bears side that says, oh, yeah, that guy can take over the town. The Bulls? Nah. I mean, apologies to DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, but, you're not the young gun anymore. You're good. You're all-star level, but you're not going to take over the town. The Cubs don't really have anything. The White Sox are horrid. We thought we'd be talking a lot about Luis Robert or Eloy Jimenez. We're not. Those guys are always hurt. So really, there is this gap. There is this vacuum in the city of Chicago, a place that has given us sports hero after sports hero. Maybe Connor Bedard's that guy. He is going to be the number one pick. I know this because you can't even get odds right now on who will be the number one pick. It is such a certainty that Connor Bedard will be the guy that over at DraftKings, they don't even have odds on who's going to be the number one pick. They do have odds on who's going to be the number two pick. And I talked about this guy yesterday. It is Adam Fantilli, and he is also a pretty rock-solid number two pick. His odds right now to go number two are minus 450. The next guy is like plus 650. Leo Carlson, if you care. So the Blackhawks were winners last night. They didn't do a whole lot of winning this season, but they win the sweepstakes last night and a chance to kind of flip around that franchise. They have not been good the last 5 years. They had a awful scandal with some, issues off the ice in the minor league, so on and so forth. They're still trying to recover from that. So we'll see if this is the start of a new day for the Blackhawks. The NHL draft, by the way, going to be in Nashville this season. June the 28th is night one. So we're still about 7 weeks away from that. But the Blackhawks and everybody else, they already know. Connor Bedard going to be the number one pick. Let's do our second item that does matter on this Tuesday, and we'll stay in the world of hockey. Yesterday, I was celebrating the Edmonton Oilers. I said, hey, everybody, watch the Oilers. They're going to be home tonight. They're taking on the Kings. Love watching that power play. Love watching Connor McDavid. Oh, my God, this run that Leon Draisaitl's on. Well, stop the presses. Hit the brakes. I got to give a little love to the Las Vegas Knights, who not only got a road win last night in Game 3, but they did it with their backup goalie, Aiden Hill.
Pass, all of a sudden it comes to Hyman, shutting the door again. Hill, Draisaitl shooting, and that one was partially blocked just enough so it didn't get on target. Here's Bouchard shooting himself. Hill, the save, rebound. Hyman was there.
We've used a lot of different guys at that position. They've all played well. So I think that's the good part for us, is we know the guy going in there is going to give us some timely saves. We don't rely on him to win games for us. Might have to happen here or there, but in general, we have tried to play well in front of our goaltender, no matter who's in there, and that's, just product where we started in September. We wanted to be a better defensive team, and Most nights we feel we are, not every night. And I think Kelly did a good job, made some saves when he needed to. We didn't tax him with a lot of sustained pressure shifts, and it worked out well for us.
Knights win it 5-1. They now have a 2-1 lead in that best-of-7 series against the Oilers. Bruce Cassidy, head coach of the Knights there, talking about Aiden Hill, who came in only because of an injury. Laurent Brossoit, who was the lead goalie here in the playoffs for the Las Vegas Knights, he left with about 9 minutes to go in the first period. A lower body injury is all we know. We don't have a good read on how long that injury is going to affect him, but Hill came in. And against the Oilers, let me remind you, against the Edmonton Oilers, 24 shots faced and 24 saves made by Aiden Hill. Now, he's not a young Tiger by any stretch. It's his 6th season. The Knights are his 3rd team in 3 seasons. He just did well. And hey, give credit to the Knights offense, too. They actually fell down 1-0 on the road in Edmonton just a mere 3 minutes into that game last night. And we know how Edmonton can roll. But from that point, the Knights scored 5 successive goals. They get the 5-1 victory. Jonathan Marchessault with a couple of big goals in the first period. Of note with the Oilers, I talk a lot about that power play. Last night, they only got 2 power play opportunities. They went over 2 on those opportunities. Compare that to games 1 and 2, which were in Vegas, where Edmonton got the split. Oilers had 9 power play opportunities in those 2 games. So they only had 2 last night. It's huge. That's a giant key. If Vegas is going to win this, or if the Oilers are going to win this, it's getting on the power play. Like, that is going to be decisive. We'll see if Aiden Hill is asked to do it again. Game 4 is coming up tomorrow night. It's a 10 o'clock drop of the puck. You'll be able to catch it on ESPN. Right now, the series odds are favoring the Golden Knights. They are listed at -140. Edmonton +120. So still not decisive one way or the other. But the Golden Knights get the big win last night, and they now lead that series 2-1. Let's go out west, even further west than Edmonton, and a little bit south. Go to Los Angeles for some NBA playoff action. Warriors and Lakers. And when you tune into that game last night, you're thinking, wow, this is going to be good. We get LeBron, we get Steph, we get Thompson, we get Draymond, we get Anthony Davis. Man, all these superstars. This is going to be awesome. Well, you know what? Those superstars were important last night, but nobody was more important than a guy named Lonnie Walker IV.
He helps our offense with our pace.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks to Darvin Ham. Lonnie Walker gets up the first shot of the 4th, and number 4 drills a 3 for LA.
Garbage time minutes in game 2, and Darvin Ham went back to him for 20.
Draymond Green and a hot pass right through Wiggins. Lonnie Walker beats Thompson. Lonnie Walker lays it in.
Here, Draymond Green turns it over. Lonnie Walker, great effort. Moody comes and knocks that out of bounds. 2 great efforts by the Warriors.
Oh, Lonnie Walker delivers another in the 4th quarter. Curry got a hand on that. Walker now, 5 to shoot. Walker's feeling it. Walker long 2. Okay, Lonnie Walker.
And Lonnie Walker has been huge here in the 4th. 9 points, all in this quarter.
Laker ball here, 2-point game. Lakers trail. Lonnie Walker's been excellent in this 4th quarter. He stays, and Lonnie Walker keeps it rolling. He's got 11, all 11 coming in the 4th. To your point, Coach, got to stay ready. Lonnie Walker guarded by Curry. Walker, pull up. Walker hits another one. It's the Lonnie Walker game.
Anthony who? LeBron who? The go-to guy for the Lakers is Lonnie Walker IV.
He owned the 4th. He had 15 points in that 4th quarter, and the LA Lakers, who trailed by 7 points going into that final frame, they come back for a 104-101 victory, and they're now up 3-1 on the Golden State Warriors. Look at that box score in the 4th quarter. Golden State as a team featuring Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, and others. They had 17 points in the 4th quarter. Lonnie Walker IV had 15 points in the fourth quarter. And hey, LeBron and Anthony Davis was good. I said this yesterday. Anthony Davis, he's like the talisman here. You know, what he does is how the Lakers go. And what were his numbers? 23 points, 15 boards, 3 steals. He was big. LeBron, 27 points, 9 boards, 6 assists. These guys were big. But Lonnie Walker IV, in crunch time, stepping up. Interesting factoid here. It had been 26 years to the day that the Lakers last had somebody come off the bench in the fourth quarter of a playoff game and score at least 15 points. That was 26 years ago yesterday, courtesy of Kobe Bryant. I don't even think Lonnie Walker was alive 26 years ago. Now, who the hell is Lonnie Walker? He's a young guy, but he's a bench guy. He's not really... I shouldn't say this. He starts on occasion. He is not anybody who has like superstar written for him. He's only 24 years old, started his career with the Spurs, came over to the Lakers in a trade. He is kind of continuing a trend we've seen from the Lakers in the playoffs where, again, they have LeBron and Davis. But if you look at their run in the playoffs, whether it was against Memphis or Golden State, Rui Hachimura has had big games. Dennis Schroeder has had a big game or two. Last night, Austin Reeves, nobody talks about him. He had a nice game. So other guys have stepped up for the Lakers, and last night it was Lonnie Walker IV, who didn't even average 12 points a game this season, and he had 15 in the fourth quarter last night. Mention a 3-1 lead for the Lakers on the Warriors. This series will now go back to Golden State. Tomorrow night is game number 5, 10 o'clock. Now, Golden State is a favorite there by 6.5 points, but the series odds are heavy, heavy, heavy on the Lakers, and they should be. Again, 3-1. They need one more win, and they clinch it. They'll be in the Western Conference Finals if they get that win. I don't think anybody, it was nice to see the Lakers in the playoffs, but everybody said, they're no good. LeBron's old. Anthony Davis is too fragile. They might not even get out of the play-in round. Well, they got through the play-in. They got through the Grizzlies. Now they're making it through the Warriors. Kind of getting serious now with the Lakers, isn't it? Series odds. Lakers are listed at -500 right now to take this series, and Golden State is plus 380. So that gets you recapped on the NHL and the NBA from last night. We've got more coming your way in the 5 things that will matter from those 2 sports. But let's switch our attention over to the world of baseball, where we had that AL East showdown last night between the Tampa Bay Rays on the road at Camden Yards, taking on the Baltimore Orioles. First place Tampa, second place Baltimore. Last night, it was all Rays, and it was all Shane McClanahan.
The mound tonight for the Tampa Bay Rays is going to be left-hander Shane McClanahan, off to a tremendous start in 7 starts. He is 6-0, ERA just over 2.
Strike 3 call on the inside part. I think Hayes thought that was a little close, but that's 1 out.
Adley Rutschman.
And strike 3 called, 99 at the knees right there.
That was a fastball sandwich by McClanahan.
McClanahan will start off with Jorge Mateo.
There's a wave and miss, and Mateo is out on strikes. Ooh, this one drops in. Strike 3 called. How about that for the curveball? Adley Rutschman is the designated hitter tonight. And a cut and miss. He is out on strikes. Got a little piece of that one for the foul tip into the mitt of Mejia.
And Mountcastle had his 15-game on-base streak snapped yesterday, 0 for 5.
And a swing and miss. He's out.
Fun to watch, right? 3-0 victory for the Tampa Bay Rays. And Shane McClanahan is now 7-0. ERA after 6 shutout innings last night against the Orioles is 1.76. Cy Young odds. What are we looking at? Well, he's actually 3rd in the American League. Garrett Cole's ahead of him. Shohei Ohtani's ahead of him. And then Shane McClanahan. I got to say at this juncture, how is Shane McClanahan not at the top of that list? Again, 7-0, 1.76 ERA. He's pitching for the best team by far in baseball. He should be number 1 on these odds. Right now, you can get McClanahan at plus 700 for the AL Cy Young. And usually with young pitchers, especially with the Rays, we've talked about, innings limit. I don't think that's really at work here with McClanahan. And even if there is a bit of an innings limit, if you're going to be something like, 17-5, probably doesn't matter if you're only throwing 165 or 170 innings. And last year, McClanahan, he threw 166. So the idea of him jumping to 180, 190, that is not far-fetched after 166 last year. And even if he's in the 150s, 160s, he can still win the Cy Young. I mean, we saw that, 4 years ago with Blake Snell in Tampa. He didn't throw many innings, but his numbers were so dominating and overwhelming that he still got the votes he needed for the AL Cy Young Award. So Shane McClanahan is kind of on that trajectory after last night. I would make him the odds-on favorite right now in the AL, and you're getting him as third, plus 700. That is a bargain, kids. That is a bargain. Now, the other thing going on here, with that win, Tampa Bay is now 29-7. In the last 80-plus seasons, there has only been one team with a better start through their first 36 games, and that was the Detroit Tigers. Tigers in 84, who led from wire to wire. They won on opening day, and then they won the World Series on the final day of the season. They were first place all year long. They kind of had that epic 84 campaign. It's kind of what we're looking at with Tampa Bay. Two teams in over 8 decades of baseball have had this kind of start. Detroit in 84, and now the Tampa Bay Rays in 2023. Tonight, they'll look for more. Zach Eflin is going up against Grayson Rodriguez. Start time for that one in Baltimore is 6:35. Baltimore currently in second place behind Tampa. 6.5 games out already behind the Tampa Bay Rays. That is how well they are playing. Let's move to item number 5 of what matters. And we actually got this news this morning. He's back. And not just back in our lives, but he's back in New York City. Remember years ago when a lot of people, smart people, said, hey, Gary Sanchez, that's a superstar catcher. I was not one of them. And it's been nice over the previous 6 years to have been proven totally correct about Gary Sanchez. He is now a journeyman, and he has taken his journey, as you can see there, to the New York Mets. He's off to Queens. He has left the Bronx. He went to Minneapolis. He went to San Francisco. He went to Sacramento. Now he's with the Mets. Now he's not in Queens just yet. He's going to have to earn his way up to the big league squad. He has signed a minor league deal with AAA Syracuse. Gary Sanchez is one of these guys who you have to remind yourself, even when it's good early on, that does not mean it's going to be good later on. Gary Sanchez finished second in Rookie of the Year voting in 2016. He made the All-Star game in 2017, and then he just stopped hitting. And, of course, his defense sucked. You don't even want him as a catcher anymore. The Yankees moved on. They traded him to Minnesota. He hit 200 last year? Played 120 games. I think he had 16 home runs. He was not pitiful, but he was just a guy. San Francisco, nobody wanted him in the offseason, so San Francisco gave him a minor league deal. Didn't do anything in spring training. He went to AAA Sacramento, by the way. Didn't do anything there. What are the numbers? In Sacramento, 16 games at AAA. He hit 164 with a 501 OPS. Now, you might think to yourself, wow, that's really bad. 164 with a 501 OPS. It is bad. But you know who is just as bad as those AAA numbers that Gary Sanchez put up? How about the catchers for the New York Mets this year? Yes, I'm talking about you, Thomas Nido, Francisco Alvarez, Omar Narvaez. You guys suck this year. Here's the thing. With Gary Sanchez, he ain't good. But you know what? He's just as good as what the Mets are rolling out there at catcher. Check this out. Here are the cumulative numbers for catchers this year that the Mets have employed. All games. Mets catchers are hitting 184. Mets catchers have an OPS of 456. I don't know if I've ever seen an OPS like that. They have 1 home run this year and 7 RBIs this year. So why the hell not? Shouldn't you bring Gary Sanchez in? He may be playing for this Mets team 7 days from now. Mets catchers this year have been 70% worse than the average hitter in Major League Baseball. They got to take a shot on Gary Sanchez. Why the heck not? They don't even need defense from Gary Sanchez. They just need a hit or two from Gary Sanchez. So the Mets get a little worried, I think. Hitting overall has been kind of weak for the Mets. Pitching. You don't know who's pitching from day to day with the Mets. Speaking of that pitching, got a big situation tonight with the Mets. We will talk about that coming up in our 5 things that will matter. I'm Kyle Elfrink. This is the 5-Pack. Take a break here. Back with more things that you need to follow for this Tuesday night. We'll do that next on the Better Sports Network.
Game 4 between the Devils and Hurricanes tonight in Newark, New Jersey. And after the Devils exploded for 8 goals in Game 3, let's hammer over 5.5 goals in Game 4 at -105. It's tough to feel good about any of the goaltenders in this series right now after Freddie Anderson and Pyotr Kochetkov got lit up in Game 3, and Vitek Vanacek wasn't much better for the Devils despite getting the win. It might be a trap, but hey, let's spring the trap. In the late game, the Kraken looked to go up 3-1 on the Stars. Dallas is the favorite on the road, but I think Seattle is the better play. Miro Heiskanen left Game 3 early after taking a puck to the face. It would be a huge loss if he can't go, as he's Dallas's #1 defenseman. Dallas has struggled to keep the Kraken off the scoreboard even with Heiskanen in play, and so it's going to be a taller order if he can't go. Take the Kraken plus 115 on the money line. Be sure to check out the comments below for a special offer from our friends at Fantasy Alarm.
Welcome back to the 5-Pack. Next up, the 5 things that will matter. Here's Kyle Elfrink.
Yes, indeed. We got some superstars to talk about in the 5 things that will matter. We welcome back into the 5-Pack. We're here each and every day from 12 to 1 o'clock Eastern as we get you set for the sports world, what you may have missed the night before, what you need to look forward to tonight. Speaking of tonight, while you enjoy the sports world at large, a reminder that we've got shows coming your way, kind of our Tuesday specials, if you will. 7 o'clock is the Tour Junkies. Pat Perry, David Barnett getting you set for this week. I think they are off to Texas for the AT&T Byron Nelson Classic. So that'll be taking place Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Tonight at 7 o'clock, those guys will get you set from a DFS and fantasy perspective. And later tonight, 8:30 Eastern here on the Better Sports Network. It is Her Story in the Making. Our friend Britt Flynn is going to be joined by, and I had to double check this because it's weird to say this, Britt Flynn is going to be joined by Casey Kasem, but not that Casey Kasem. Casey Kasem, the famous one, has passed away. This is a female Casey Kasem who spells her first name Kasey. She is the host of the Get Real podcast. She is going to join Britt talking about ladies in the fantasy and sports industry. So that's coming your way tonight at 8:30. Still to come, we'll get you our Pack Rip 1988 Score Baseball. Also, we will tell you how you can be eligible to win this 1992 All-Star checklist from Upper Deck. Now, this is a cool checklist because of the guy on the front. It's a Michael Jordan 1992 All-Star check. We pulled this, a couple of weeks back, I think, here on the 5-Pack. And what we're going to be doing over the coming weeks is giving these away. That's what we're going to be doing. So we'll tell you how you can qualify to maybe win this card coming up a bit later in the show. Right now, though, let's get to our 5 things that will matter for tonight. And I noted that we're going to talk some superstars. Let's start with a big one for the New York Yankees. Tonight's the night. Aaron Judge is set to return to the lineup. He has been out with a hip injury since late April. I think it was April 27th was the last game for Aaron Judge. Due to be off the IL, pretty well a 10-day light stay for Aaron Judge. Without the big bopper in the lineup, the Yankees went 4-6. They also averaged only about 3.5 runs. So as you might expect, yes, they need Aaron Judge. And remember, they still don't have Giancarlo Stanton. They still don't have Carlos Rodon. Got a few other guys that are injured. One thing they're going to have to decide here with the activation of Judge is what to do with, who to send down. We could see Oswald Peraza maybe sent down to AAA. You could see Oswaldo Cabrera sent down to AAA. Now, he had a home run last night. There were some people saying, why don't you just DFA Aaron Hicks, who's been a big disappointment for the Yankees. Well, he hit a home run last night. I would guess Peraza is probably the guy going down to the minor leagues. He's been dealing with an ankle injury, hasn't played a whole lot in the last week, so that kind of is the easy solution for the Yanks. But Judge is going to be in the lineup tonight as they take on the Oakland A's. Aaron Boone was asked about, hey, are there any limitations on Aaron Judge coming off the hip injury? And here's what he said.
That's the plan, but we'll see where he's at. I mean, that was the calculus in this weekend. It's like, do we want to push him back out there if he's 85, 90%? I wasn't comfortable doing that just because I didn't want a strain to turn into a bad situation where we're, talking 6-8 weeks. So I think he's doing really well. I think we're going to be in a good spot come Tuesday to where he's done everything and been hitting for several days. And so I would expect we roll when we go on Tuesday.
Yankees are still trying to find their way. 19-17 is the record. They got the win last night against Oakland, obviously. Tampa won. So the Yankees are still 10 games out. Trying to find their way, and a lot of it is offensively, where to hit Judge. So we'll see where he returns tonight. Is it, last season when he was going for that record, they let him off. Maybe that had more to do with just getting him plate appearances, giving him a shot at setting that all-time record for home runs in the American League. He obviously did it. This year, they've not let him off. Which it always kind of irritates me when it's like proof positive that last year you were just looking for an individual accolade. Now, I know that does not irritate many people, but to me, it's like, is your team better hitting Aaron Judge leadoff, or were you just doing it to get obviously you were just doing it to get the record, because this year he's not leading off. But last year you were going for the playoffs and you let him off. I don't know why that is like not even part of the conversation this year with Judge. Probably 2 or 3. We'll see. They still don't have Stanton. Josh Donaldson is out. A lot of guys aren't hitting. So we'll see. Should note, if you want to play a home run prop tonight, Aaron Judge is listed at plus 205 to take the Oakland A's pitching staff deep, which is not all that impossible. Plus 205. Drew Rosinski, by the way, is pitching tonight for the A's. He's given up a couple of home runs in just about 9 innings, I think, this year. I take the 205. I wouldn't feel bad about that, getting plus 205 on Judge. Usually when he's like Aaron Judge not coming off the IL, he's like plus 180. So here you get him at plus 205. Not bad at all. Let's move to our second item that will matter, and we deal with the other team that is in New York. They are not home tonight. They're going to be on the road in Cincinnati. Max Scherzer is on the hill for the Metropolitans. We have spent a lot of time here on the 5-pack talking about Max Scherzer, haven't we? Well, we keep doing it because Max Scherzer continues to be in the news. The latest on the veteran right-hander is that he's pretty well come clean, that he ain't right, that he's dealing with a bit of an upper back injury. And we've talked here on the show about spin rate and lack of strikeouts and the walk rate being higher and the innings pitched and, of course, the sticky stuff. Like, whatever Scherzer does pretty well plays. Like, every time he's out there, we're talking about him. He came out yesterday and said, I'm just, in effect, trying to stay off the DL. Now, if a guy's telling me that in early May, my expectation is you ain't making it to the end of the season without landing on the IL. So we'll see with Scherzer. He has not been his regular self this year. Tonight he gets the Reds. I will tell you this. If you want to see some mind-blowing numbers, check out Max Scherzer at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. That's where he's pitching tonight. Here are the numbers. In his career, 33 innings. He hasn't done a ton of pitching there. But 33 innings at Great American Ballpark. In those 33 innings, Max Scherzer has allowed 1 run. I think that's like a .27 ERA. He is 4-0. In those 33 innings against the Reds at their home ballpark, he has 53 strikeouts to 8 walks. He dominates at this ballpark. Now, this is not a pitcher's ballpark. It's like one of the best hitting ballparks in all of baseball. But Max Scherzer doesn't care, man. So if he struggles tonight, that's another thing we've never seen from Scherzer. Struggling in Cincinnati. The dude has been untouchable in Cincinnati. And the Reds ain't much better than they have been. In fact, they may be worse than they have been. So we'll see tonight. I was looking at some props over on DraftKings. There is no outs prop available for Max Scherzer. His over-under is 6.5 Ks. His win prop is minus 125 on the yes and minus 105 on the no. Might have to take the no, considering what we've seen from Scherzer this year. I'm just not confident in his health. Not confident at all. Let's go to item number 3 of what will matter. And although I say it will matter, maybe I should say this may matter tonight. Boston Red Sox opening up a series in Atlanta. This will mark the return of Kenley Jansen to Atlanta. Now, this may be overselling the return of Kenley Jansen to Atlanta. He only pitched for a year with the Atlanta Braves, but now he's with the Boston Red Sox. And tonight, if he is called upon in a tight game and he gets the final 3 outs in the 9th inning, we could see save number 400 for Kenley Jansen. And just to give that a little perspective, I think Heather Klein created a graphic for us here. If Kenley Jansen gets his 400th save, he will be just the 7th player ever to get to 400 saves. You see the guys: Rivera, Hoffman, Smith, K-Rod, John Franco, and Billy Wagner. Now, interestingly enough, let me think about this. How many of those guys pitch for the Mets? K-Rod, Franco, and Wagner? Yeah, they all pitch for the Mets, I think, right? So the Mets, they know how to find closers. They may have another one. You know, Kenley Jansen, he'll end up with the Mets at some point, right? Surely he'll end up with the Mets. But Kenley Jansen's trying to be just the 7th guy ever to get to 400 saves. Now, baseball is different in the last 30 years. As you can tell, these are all color photos. These are all guys who pretty well pitched from 1985 to present. But Kenley Jansen will join a rather exclusive club. My question is, Hall of Fame? You look at the top 3 guys, see that little cross next to their name, Rivera, Hoffman, Smith? That means they're in the Hall of Fame. When you think of Kenley Jansen, do you think of Hall of Fame? Probably not. You don't think of it with John Franco. You probably should think about it with Billy Wagner. You should look that up. Billy Wagner has a case. I don't know if it's going to make a difference for Kenley Jansen. I would probably say no. You know, if K-Rod's not in there, Kenley Jansen's probably not in there. But just wanted to point out, you could see something tonight, a 400th career save that you don't see very often in Major League Baseball. And one other thing with Kenley Jansen, I saw this courtesy of Ken Rosenthal with Fox Sports and The Athletic. You remember coming into the year, the pitch clock? The slowest worker in baseball last year was Kenley Jansen. Everybody kind of wondered about Kenley Jansen. I mean, this guy is, 38, 39 years old. He's pitched his whole career without a pitch clock. He's really slow. Guess what? Kenley Jansen has not had a single pitch clock violation this year. So you can, on occasion, teach an old dog new tricks. Kenley Jansen's that old dog, yet to have a pitch clock violation. And that was a guy everybody said, oh, he's going to have him, right? Doesn't have one. And he's pitched really good this year. 8 saves. K to walk ratio is 16-3. I think he's allowed 2 runs all season. Been really, really good. Braves going to be hosting the Red Sox tonight. And if Boston can get that win, Boston over 500, by the way, Jansen could lock up his 400th save tonight. Let's go to the NBA side of things for our next item that will matter. Pivotal game 5s for a couple of home favorites. Tonight in Boston and tonight in Denver, the Celtics and the Nuggets will be the home teams trying to stave off an upset. Right now, both of these teams, Boston and Denver, are tied at 2 games apiece in their series. Celtics taking on the Sixers, Nuggets taking on the Suns. Now, both will be home tonight. Right now, these 2 teams, Celtics and Nuggets, are the top 2 seeds still alive in their respective conference. So, a lot of pressure here. You can't lose this game 5. And if you look at this Boston-Philly series, what we have seen is in the losses by Boston, game 1 and 4, it was all James Harden. I mean, it was totally driven by how James Harden was playing. In the Celtic wins in games 2 and 3, it was all driven by the start. if the Celtics get off to a quick start, they've rolled. So that'll be the key tonight, getting off to a quick start. If you look at the odds right now, 7:30 this evening, TNT will have the broadcast. Boston is favored by 7.5, and they are still a very significant lead for the series. Boston minus 330, Philly is plus 265. Now, as for the Nuggets tonight, that game will be right after the Celtics and the Philly and the 76ers. 10 o'clock tonight, TNT. Denver's favored by 5.5. Series odds there are much closer. Denver is minus 165. Again, Boston twice as long, minus 330. Twice as bad, I guess you could say. Minus 330 for their odds. Phoenix is plus 140 in this series. We got the news yesterday, no suspension for Nikola Jokic. So he's going to play tonight. He got fined after that shove, I should say, of Matt Ishaba, the owner of the Suns. So only a fine. That's what should have happened. No Chris Paul tonight. He's not going to be out there. The key for the Nuggets is really trying to slow down Devin Booker. This guy's been going nuts. The numbers the other night were out of this world. He had 36 points in game 4, and he did that on just 18 shots. The head coach for the Nuggets, Michael Malone, kind of talked about the issues that the Nuggets have had defensively trying to slow down Devin Booker.
Us in transition. Devin Booker last night, I think, had close to 18 points in transition alone. So, he's averaging 36 points a game, shooting a ridiculous number from the field. You got to take away some of those easy ones. I mean, the coast-to-coast layups. The mid-range pull-up in transition as guys not getting back, not seeing a crowd. In the second half, he only took 7 shots. So, that was the first game last night where getting the ball out of his hands hurt us because Landry Shamet obviously makes 5 threes in the second half. And so you accomplish one goal in getting the ball out of Devin Booker's hands, but then you don't have great rotations or urgency to get out to a guy in Landry Shamet who's a great shooter. And that's the challenge.
Game 5 tonight, back in the Mile High City, Denver, taking on Phoenix. That's a 10 o'clock start again, TNT, and then 7:30 before that, Boston and Philadelphia. Game's going to be in the Garden up there in Beantown. That is a 7:30 tip-off. So we'll see if they can hold fort, if you will, those favorites out of both the Eastern Conference and Western Conference. Our fifth and final little sports item that will matter. I got to sneak some soccer in here, right? I mean, lo and behold, check your local listings. But today at 3 o'clock on CBS, nonetheless, not some random soccer channel buried in the 200s of your channel catalog, but on CBS, no soap operas on this Tuesday afternoon. Instead, we've got soccer on this Tuesday afternoon. 3 o'clock, biggie. Biggie. That's Real Madrid against Manchester City. This is the semifinals of the Champions League. They are down to the final 4 teams. Now, I understand many of you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. This tournament has been going on for 5 months, 6 months. We started with 32. We're down to the final 4. These are only club teams. Manchester City out of England, Real Madrid out of Spain. So you get all these teams from all the European countries, club teams, not national teams, club teams, and they, play through a tournament. Final 4. Now, unlike, say, a Final 4 in college basketball, this is not a one and done situation. This is not, hey, if you win today, you advance to the championship. No, they play 2. Today, they're going to be playing in Madrid. Next week, they'll be in Man City. So that is one semifinal. The other semifinal is tomorrow. The Battle of Milan, AC Milan against Inter Milan. That should be a lot of fun. But these 2 teams, Madrid and Man City, might be the 2 best teams in all the world with soccer. And if you're into scoring, because I know a lot of you say, oh, there's no scoring. Today's game, 3 o'clock on CBS, should have some scoring. The over-under is listed at 2.5, which is rather large for the first game of a 2-game home and home. But the key here is you get to see studs on the tube. For Man City, Erling Haaland, stud. For Real Madrid, Karim Benzema, stud. These two guys going head to head, they both know how to score. I mean, Haaland, if you haven't been following his exploits this season in the English Premier League, he's already set the record for goals in a season. It's his first year in the EPL. He's at like 36 goals. I mean, he's going to smoke the record. Benzema's been doing it for a while. But these two guys facing off today, it should be fun. Now, it's game 1 of 2. Again, they're going to have another match next week. They'll play in Man City. And the way you advance is on aggregate. So let's say Man City wins today, but Madrid wins next week. You have a split. What do? Well, who had the most goals? Well, if they're tied there, then they go to shootouts. So it's a little bit of a different scenario as opposed to what many of us Americans think of as a semifinal. It's a two-legged semifinal. The odds today, Real Madrid to win plus 220. Man City as the visitor is plus 115. You don't see that very often. The draw is plus 270. Erling Haaland to score is minus 125. That is a number you never see. And Benzema to score is plus 130. Again, that's 3 o'clock today, a little afternoon, big time football action with Real Madrid hosting Man City. And tomorrow, Milan versus Milan, AC against Inter. I think that's also a 3 o'clock start coming up on Wednesday. So it's not just all basketball, hockey, and baseball. Yes, there is some big-time soccer today. By the way, this is not World Cup, but it's number 2 in terms of soccer titles, soccer championships, Champions League with a ton of history and a ton of interest to see who emerges with that title. Speaking of interest, can I interest you in any 1988 Score Baseball? Ah, yes, the Pack Rip is coming your way next, right here on the 5-Pack on the Better Sports Network.
The NFL's biggest offseason story, obviously, the Lamar Jackson Baltimore Ravens contract saga, came to an end shortly before the NFL draft started. Earlier this week, Jackson met with the reporters and the press in the Baltimore area. What I found interesting is Jackson said he was a stat head and that with the weapons that they have in Baltimore this year, he think he can throw for 6,000 yards. I don't doubt Lamar Jackson when he says that he can do anything because Lamar Jackson probably could. Problem is, I don't see where a washed-up Odell Beckham or Zay Flowers really makes that big of a difference. Lamar Jackson is the weapon. Mark Andrews is the weapon. That running game is the weapon. Now, I know new OC Todd Monk is going to bring a new style to Baltimore, but to rely on those weapons could be a mistake. Curious in your thoughts? Check out the comments below for a special offer from our friends at Fantasy Alarm.
Time now for the Daily Pack Rip on the 5-Pack with Kyle Elfrink.
You know, I just remembered we get a little trivia in our Score Baseball set, right? We get a little not a hologram, kind of a light fade. I don't even know what the hell they call those images where you refract them. Maybe a refractor trivia card. We'll get that coming up in our inaugural edition of Score Baseball cards. If you don't remember these, as soon as you see the first one, you'll remember them. Guaranteed. Want to remind you, if you retweet our Pack Rip today, you will be entered into the contest to win this Michael Jordan 1992 Upper Deck basketball card. It's got some money behind it. We're going to give it away for free. We'll be qualifying people all week long. All you need to do is retweet the Pack Rip, and we will randomly choose one of you. And you'll be into the hopper. And then come Friday this week, we'll decide and figure out who's going to win this sucker. So give us a retweet, and you will be eligible to win that prize. As for Score Baseball, came in plastic. No wax here. No foil here. Nothing but good old American plastic. I like this. That in terms of value, there is nothing huge here. I think there's a Tom Glavine rookie. Maybe a Craig Biggio rookie is kind of floating around here. Let's get to... okay, it's not trivia that we get in Score. I apologize. It's a Do You Remember? Do you remember Busch Stadium right here in St. Louis, October 2nd of 1968? I don't remember this. I was not alive, but I have put together a lot of stuff on this game. This is when Bob Gibson, in Game 1 of the 68 World Series, Cardinals were hosting the Tigers. What was the final number here? Bob Gibson striking out 14, I think, or no, 16. 16 strikeouts in that game one of the World Series against Detroit. As you can see, Score loved to mess around with saying, hey, is your eyesight good? This was like, because it's also on the back of the cards. I mean, look at the writing on this stuff. It's tiny, tiny, tiny. Score was the original way to test your child's vision. You'd give them a pack of Score baseball cards and you'd say, okay, Johnny, see if you can read up on the stats of Juan Agosto. And you look at it and you go, oh my God, I can't read anything. Or you'd say, okay, Johnny, take a look at this great moments. Do you remember card? Can you read that on the back? And if you couldn't, you needed your eyes checked. Now, today I cannot read it, so I do need my eyes checked. But to the original story, I was actually lucky enough, and golly, this is almost 25 years ago. I was working at KMOX radio in St. Louis. I was an intern. It was 1998, 30th anniversary of this 68 season, which for those who don't know, the 68 baseball season, a legendary year. It was the year of the pitcher, Bob Gibson, who had this great moment in the World Series in game one. He had a 1.12 ERA that season, something we've never seen since. We haven't even really come close. Maybe Pedro Martinez a couple of years, Maddox, Johnson, but never seen a 1.12 ERA over the course of a whole season. So Gibson did that in 68, and we were putting together a special at KMOX, the 30-year special of Bob Gibson's, and I was lucky enough to interview Ernie Harwell, the legendary Hall of Fame broadcaster for the Detroit Tigers, who actually called this game, who called this great moment in baseball history. He was on the television call and maybe even the radio call for Detroit, but had a chance to interview Ernie Harwell. So, yes, we spent a lot of time talking about this game one. Eventually, though, the Tigers won that World Series in 68. Okay, let's get to the pack. And as noted, we got a lot of colors here. A lot of colors here. We'll start with a purple one. Didn't we have Pedro Guerrero yesterday? Maybe it was 2 days ago. We had Pedro Guerrero, but he was in a different uniform. I think yesterday, let me look this up. I think he was in a Cardinals uniform yesterday. Yeah, here he is. Here's Pedro Guerrero, 1990 Fleer Ultra. Here's Pedro Guerrero, 1988 LA Dodgers. Yeah, we get a double dose of Pedro. He didn't change much. You know, still had the Fu Manchu going back then. Love me some Pete Guerrero. Still had the same number from team to team. 28 with the Cardinals, 28 with the Dodgers. Up next, a Hall of Famer. And I tell you what, this is a photo you don't often get with any baseball player. But how about the fact that the photographer snagged the baseball in the image of George Brett as he took it for a ball? Had to be a ball, right? George Brett wouldn't take a strike. If that pitch was a strike, he'd be swinging. I'm guessing that's outside for George Brett. Check out the bottom. First baseman George Brett. Of course, he's known as a third baseman, but they were ready to call him a first baseman by the time 1988 came around. He entered 1988 with 2,219 hits. Of course, eventually, George Brett would end up with the magical 3,000 total. Probably the greatest Kansas City Royal of all time. A guy who is not on the list of greatest players for any franchise, but did play with Texas for a while, Pete O'Brien, first base. Now, you'll notice the purple look here. I guess when you get these packs, they'd kind of go, let me check here. Yeah, pretty well like 3 colors at a time. We switch over to blue for Rafael Palmeiro, who I feel, again, we always get a Rafael Palmeiro card. This is in his early days, his pre-Royd days with the Chicago Cubs. He was an outfielder back then. A lot of people forget Palmeiro, an outfielder with the Chicago Cubs. We've had this man pop up before, Tom Bernansky. Here he is with the Minnesota Twins, soon to be traded to the St. Louis Cardinals. But Bernansky won a World Series with the 87 Twins. Bo Diaz, catcher of the Cincinnati Reds. Bo Diaz, a decent player. He bounced around a lot. I mean, he started his career in 77. Was still playing a lot of games in 87. As it says on the back of the card, Bo is a well-traveled veteran who is an excellent handler of pitchers. Here's Mickey Hatcher. Kind of was a hero of that 88 Dodgers team that somehow, some way won the World Series. Shouldn't say a hero. Maybe I should call him a folk hero. That's what I'll say about Mickey Hatcher. Jim Lindemann. Now, I will say, if you go back to like 1987, 88, Jim Lindemann, was set to be the next big star for the St. Louis Cardinals. He was a slugging first base outfielder, going to take the role of Jack Clark. He was going to team up with Todd Zill. Maybe even, who was the other guy I'm trying to think of? Oh, Geronimo Pena. It was going to be like a Todd Zill, Jim Lindemann, Geronimo Pena, Bernard Gilkey, Ray Langford future in St. Louis. Lindemann had back troubles. That was his issue. He was a decent hitter, but just had too many back injuries. Jose Gonzalez. I know nothing of Jose Gonzalez, so let's learn something, shall we? Jose is a promising center fielder. I would doubt that because by the time this card came out, he was already 25 years old. I don't know if you're still promising. And he'd only played a grand total of 75 games in the big leagues. I don't know if you're promising. That's a little editorial insight there from the score writers. Dwayne Bruce, reliever for the Angels of Anaheim. At that point, though, they were just the California Angels, I think, back then. Tim Conroy, relief pitcher who did nothing in St. Louis, but he did wear pony cleats. You don't see pony around. Check out those cleats. Ponies. These were like the official cleats of softball players. So if you were a big leaguer wearing these, the writing was on the wall. This card might be worth something. Cal Ripken Jr. Tell you what, we got 2 Hall of Famers in this set today. Look at that. You don't always pull Hall of Famers, but we got 2 of them. George Brett, Cal Ripken. Look at that. Fun there. We would have had a third if this guy had stayed off the roids. But no, Rafael Palmeiro's not in there. Here's one of our favorite speedsters we talk about. Gerald Young makes another appearance on the pack rip. You know, these sets are like 700 cards, and yet we get the same guys all the time. What's up? Dave Stewart. Now, what's interesting about this is it's almost like the A's are wearing throwback unis. I don't think these were the regular jerseys. Yeah, these weren't the regular home jerseys for the A's. I don't believe. I mean, nowadays, everybody has a third, a fourth, a fifth jersey. Back then, not so much. You have a home and a road. But Dave Stewart, who was about the best pitcher in baseball in this era, just look at him. Nonchalant Dave Stewart. You want my photo? Yeah, take my photo. Here's a rookie prospect. I love seeing this one. I remember this card, Ron Gant. I've talked about my older brother before. He loved Will Clark. He also loved Ron Gant. We had a lot of these Ron Gant cards. Met Ron Gant many, many years after this card. He was a great dude. Ron Gant still does some broadcasting, I think, in the industry. Good, like 30-30 kind of talent. Here's a 1987 highlight of Kirby Puckett. Let's see the highlight. Kirby Puckett gets 10 hits over 2 straight games. Kirby Puckett, an absolute stud. 10 hits in 2 consecutive 9-inning games on August 29th and 30th. Went 4 for 5 in the first game with 2 homers. 6 straight hits, 2 more homers, 4 RBIs. Kirby Puckett, stud back then. Non-stud, Juan Augusto, reliever for the Astros. I tell you what, it's not every day that you get 3 Hall of Famers. Puckett, Brett, and Ripken. We'll try it again tomorrow.